Alright, good day boys and girls. Welcome back to the 2021 school year, the half of 2021. This is going to be your first assignment of the third 9 weeks. The second 9 weeks is closed by the time you see this video, so I hope you got all your other assignments in, but this is the first assignment for the third 9 weeks, so you have plenty of time to get this done. Your assignment for this week, we call it Shape the Game. And basically what that is you are going to create a game of your choosing. You create all the aspects of the game. The rules, scoring, how you win, how you lose. But the thing about the game is you have to use shapes in your game. If you are in K through second grade, you must have at least 3 different shapes in your game. 3. If you are third through 5th grade, you must have 5 different shapes in your game. 5. Now, when we say shapes, they can be what's either known as 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. 2-dimensional would be flat. If I drew a square on a piece of paper, that would be a 2-dimensional shape. But we also want you to use 3-dimensional. If I picked up a ball, 3-dimensionally, that would be known as a sphere. So that would be a 3-dimensional shape. It has height, width, and length. So it's got the 3 aspects of shape. All right. So while you're playing this game, though, here are the standards that Ms. DeArmond is going to tell you about that you are trying to meet while you play this game.
Yeah, so we have 4 different standards we're using for this game. 2 are PE standards with South Carolina, and then 2 are math standards. Some of these math standards are going to look pretty familiar to you, and we would hope the PE ones as well, especially for you older students. So our first 2 for PE, we have our second standard, which is just saying that we are going to demonstrate knowledge of concept, strategies, and tactics. So whenever we play a game, there are those rules, there's scoring, there's many different aspects, how you work with one another. So those all fall under concept, strategies, and tactics. So you are going to use those 3 words in your game and look for different ways to incorporate them. Again, this is all about you all coming up with a game, so Mr. Fisher and myself aren't going to tell you exactly how to do that. We'll demonstrate later though. Then we have standard 4, which is exhibits responsible and social behavior. So this means that you are keeping yourself safe, you are being respectful. If you're working with others, that means you're showing social behaviors and you're being positive, you're having great sportsmanship. Okay? Those are different things that would fall under that standard. Next we have our math standards. And these refer to those shapes we're going to be using. Again, later here in this video, we'll explain and show you 2D and 3D objects so that you can better understand them. But we have used critical thinking skills to justify mathematical thinking. So you have to think your shapes that you choose are going to allow you to have a positive outcome in your game that you create. And it may take some time to figure out what is best. Mr. Fisher and I set up a demonstration that shows several different objects so you can see how we're going to critically think through what objects are best for us. Then finally we have standard 4 for math, which is connect mathematical ideas and real world situations. So we're connecting those mathematical skills or those shapes that you would see in a math class to a real life situation, which is our game that we are creating. You're doing it in real time in your own life. So those are our 4 standards we're using. You're creating the game, you're being the inventor, and we are excited to see your ideas. But let's go take a look at 2D and 3D shapes.
All right, boys and girls, welcome to the cafeteria. We are now standing in the new cafeteria, and I say new because if you haven't been here yet, there's a mural that covers all 4 walls of the cafeteria. So we are standing in part of the wall that demonstrates 3-dimensional shapes that we just talked about while we were in the gym. The 3 examples that they give are a pyramid, a cube, and a cone. So if you notice, they demonstrate the height, length, and width using the dotted lines to show it has depth. It is not representing a flat surface. It is a pyramid like you would see in Egypt. A cube like a box. And we use cones all the time in gym class, so I know you know what a cone looks like. So these are examples of three-dimensional shapes. So again, 3rd through 5th grade, you need to have at least three-dimensional shapes in your game. You need 5 shapes total, but 3 of them must be three-dimensional. So you need to look around your house, find those objects that you can use safely, and come up with a game.
Yeah, and we'll show you a bunch of other shapes. There are these 3, but there are several others that are pretty common that you'll be able to notice throughout your house. And then he said 3 through 5, you have to use 3 three-dimensional shapes. So K through 2, we want you to use at least 1. So we want to see at least 1 three-dimensional shape in your activity. So now we're going to hop onto a different wall, and we're going to look at 2-dimensional shapes. All right, so now we have our 2-dimensional shapes. They have length and height. All right, so we have different shapes. We have a triangle, which has 3 sides. I'm sure you all have seen them before. A rectangle, which has 4 sides. A square that also has 4 sides, but the cool part about a square is that all the sides are the same length. All right, then we have our hexagon, which means it has 6 sides, and our heptagon has 7 sides. So these are all different examples of 2-dimensional shapes that you may see. Again, 2D means that it's flat. It's not going to have depth to it like a ball or a box. It's going to be nice and flat like a piece of paper. Mr. Fisher has some more examples on that wall over there.
All right, on this side of the cafeteria is an example of a circle. I'm sure we've all seen many, many circles in our lives. If you've eaten a pizza, you've seen a circle. Above it is an octagon that has 8 sides. 8. If you look at the octagon, it looks like something very familiar you might see when you're out driving in the car with somebody. It looks a lot like a stop sign. The last one is a pentagon. It has 5 sides. You may have heard that word because that is actually the military capital in this country, the military base. It's called the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. that has 5 sides. So those are just some examples I have here in the cafeteria of 2-dimensional objects. Again, they are flat, so if you can incorporate those into your game, you are more than welcome. But like Mr. Yarman said before, 5th grade, or 3rd through 5th grade, you want at least 3-dimensional, and K through 2, at least 1 3-dimensional object. All right. Now we're going to swing back over into the gym, and we're going to show the example of the game that we came up with using objects.
Okay, so we're back in the gym, and we are doing Mr. Fisher and I's game that we came up with. We worked together and collaborated to come up with a game that involved different shapes. So we are testing out a ton of different 3D shapes and to see which one works the best or which few work the best for bowling. Now, even though we're doing bowling, that doesn't mean you all at home can do bowling, okay? You are not allowed to copy what we do, okay? You need to come up with an idea on your own. This is something that we work together to come up with. So we're going to explain it now to show you. If you can see our first set of bowling pins that Mr. Fisher is going to try and hit with his sphere that he has, all right? A ball is a sphere. We're going to use something called a cylinder, okay? A lot of these this shape would look familiar to you all if you got a canned good, so something in a can form usually. This could be used like a trash can, so maybe you have a sphere or a cylinder-shaped trash can. So he's going to get ready while I put this cylinder back, and he's going to bowl to see how well we can knock these down.
We're going to see how well a spear would roll in our game. We call our game Bowling for Objects, but not all the objects are the same. So we're going to see how well this one works.
Pretty good.
Not bad. So the spear seemed to roll very, very well. So we'll see what happens when we go to our next object.
Yes, so Mr. Fisher's getting the next object. We're using a sphere again, however, this is a much larger sphere. So spheres and all these 3D shapes come in different sizes, and he has a common shape known as a cone. You've seen cones before. Maybe you eat ice cream out of a cone, but we also use them in PE class. So we're going to be bowling at the cones, with a larger sphere this time. And we're going to have to go between the legs. Well, I'm not sure the larger sphere worked. We might have to kick it a little bit harder. But this is part of our experiment, so we are trying different ones to see what works. Maybe if we had more air in the larger sphere, it would work a little bit better. Or it just could be the shapes don't go well.
Or a larger object might need more force behind it, so you might have to use a little more power.
Could kick it, maybe,
Yeah,
so we could try that.
All right. The next one, just going with a regular size sphere or just a normal size ball, but we have a really different shape we're going to try to use this time.
This is called a dodecahedron. So it has 5 sides on any of its face, which means that it is a pentagon. Those 5 sides tell us it's a pentagon for its face, but all of those pentagons put together is a dodecahedron. A very hard word to say, but as long as we know that it has pentagons for sides, that's what matters.
So in other words, you can find all kinds of different shapes around your house to use and incorporate into your game. It does not have to be a standard shape. All right, so let's see how we do with that.
Oh, a split.
Got a split.
So that worked pretty well. They were able to be knocked down with the sphere. So now we have 3 more shapes to try, and let's move on over there. You want to box it?
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. You're good in there.
All right. Now this one's going to be a little bit different because we got a couple different shapes we're going to try to use. Ms. DeArmond's going to try to bowl with a decahedron. I don't know how well that's going to roll in a straight line, aiming for objects, but I guess we're going to see. And the object she's going to be trying to knock down, if this was flat, it would be a triangle. But since it's 3-dimensional, it's kind of in the shape of a pyramid, just a little bit. So she's going to try to knock over pyramids using a non-sphere object. Let's see how that goes.
Oh boy. So we can tell that because it has the different sides and it comes to points at its where it connects, it's not going to roll straight for us. It started out straight but then went off to the right. So that's probably not our best object to bowl with. So let's try a sphere with a rectangular prism. So we're trying rectangular prisms. Again, the face of the object, or the flat part, is a rectangle, which is where it gets its name, rectangular prism. And Mr. Fisher again has a sphere.
Just a normal size ball sphere, so this will probably roll a little bit better than our last effort.
Oh, right.
So that went pretty well. So far, if we were doing this like an experiment, we're definitely saying that about a normal size ball definitely seems to be rolling better.
Yes, so again, we have our final shapes that we are using. These both are cubes, which means they have square faces. So I'm going to be rolling the bigger cube to try and knock down the little cubes. I'm guessing it's not going to go that well, but let's try it.
Yeah, what do you think? Before she even rolls it, how successful do you think this is going to be?
Oh, the near miss.
That was actually a very good effort. I give her credit on that because not made to roll.
Yes, so that worked out well, actually. I think Mr. Fisher chose the spheres on purpose, so he could do a lot better than
I gave her the hard ones.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up our lesson, so we're going to head back over to the whiteboard now. So we just finished up our game, and what did you like best? What was your favorite?
Well, I think if I had to like see what was most successful at, what shapes and objects I had the most success with, I would have to go with using just a traditional sphere, or ball, as we all like to call them. And I think the rectangular prism and the decahedrons also seem to knock down a little bit easier, but I also think it's because how we organized those lanes where we had them stacked, and that put the objects on top where the center of gravity wasn't as close to the ground, so they were a little more unstable, so when they got hit, they were able to fall down. And that's one of the things you want to think about when you're creating your own game is how can you make it so people can be successful? Remember, you're the teacher right now. So you can't make it too hard that your students can't be successful at it. You want to challenge them, but you want to give them a chance to be successful too. So you have to put on your little teacher cap and start thinking differently. You're not the student in this activity. You are the teacher.
Yeah, definitely. I had much harder bowling lanes. So my favorite probably was the 2 cubes, but after seeing what Mr. Fisher was successful with, I would have to agree. So part of your assignment to turn it in, not only can you turn, or are you going to have to turn in either a picture or video, you also need to show us what shapes you use. So there will be a form to fill out on Microsoft Teams that you're going to use. Here we listed our shapes of what we use, and that's all you all have to do as well. We want to see exactly what shapes. We can see a video and a picture, but sometimes it's hard to tell. We want you all to tell us and write that as well.
Now, these are the 3-dimensional shapes. We gave you those words because you may not be familiar with the names of 3-dimensional shapes, but if you come up with a game where you incorporate some 2-dimensional, we're just going to kind of give you some credit with that one, and you know what those are. Yes. Squares, circles, triangles. So we're not giving you those, but if you use a 3-dimensional shape, we want the word that goes with it. Don't do a spear and then say you did a circle. Yep. A circle and a spear are not the same thing, so make sure you're using the correct language when you write your lesson. That's right, your lesson.
Yes, so we want to see what all you can come up with. Remember, you cannot copy our game. If you come up with a bowling game, okay, but we really want to see something new that you all come up with. So come up with something that works with what you have at home. You're going to take a picture, take a video, send that to us as well as your list of shapes. Remember, 3 through 5, you have 5 shapes in total that you need, but 3 of those must be 3-dimensional shapes. And K through 2, you have 3 shapes that you need, and 1 of those must be 3-dimensional. Anything else to add?
So just again, be safe. Again, if you're not sure whether you should use something from your house in your game, check with the adult in charge to make sure that you're allowed to use it and it's a safe object, and give yourself some space. Again, don't crowd yourself into a corner trying to do this stuff. You can go outside, that's even better.
Yep. And this is our first lesson of the 3rd week, so let's start off strong. We look forward to seeing all your submissions.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.